Hey, welcome back to On the Level Leadership, and I want to discuss the pitfalls of changing careers, some of the major fears that you can have when you're thinking about maybe changing your career path or maybe changing your life path. I want to go over some of those fears today, maybe even give you some techniques on how you can maybe help yourself overcome some of those fears. So I have a total of 8 fears that I want to discuss in today's video. Try to give you some takeaways that you can try to apply to your life right now. So I want to ask you this. Are you in the process of trying to change your own job, career, life path, trying to make a decision to help you move to something that maybe will fulfill you more, make you feel more alive inside? I don't know. Whatever that is, when you go to make major changes in your life, regardless of what the changes are, you're going to have fears that are going to pop up. This is pretty normal, expected, self-reflective, ego type stuff. So the first fear I really want to tackle today is the notion of I don't want to start over. I have news for you. If you're over the age of 25, you have some life experience. You've probably been working for a while now. You've probably been taking care of yourself. You've been living life, paying your bills, making relationships, getting out of relationships, recovering from really bad ones. You have experience. You're not starting over. You're starting from experience. So I'm asking you, if you're thinking of going to something different, like you could be a lawyer today and you're like, you know what? My passion is really yoga. I want to open up a yoga studio. How are my skills portable from being a lawyer to a yoga instructor? Well, maybe they're not a direct translation, but if you're a lawyer, you're going to know how to read a business document. You're going to know how to negotiate a lease for a yoga studio. While it's not a direct translation, you do have some experience. And your experience of being a lawyer means that you have business experience. You have experience dealing with clientele. And so all of that is translatable to your new business as a yoga instructor, yoga owner, if that's something that you're going into. My point being is that you need to look at what skills have you developed, not just experience, not just like what your resume says. What skills have you established in your life that you can now transfer to this new role that you want to take on, right? So what people skills, what leadership skills, what planning skills, what kind of writing skills do you have? What kind of analytical skills do you have? You come up with it. But whatever you have in terms of experience, expertise, and I would even say talent that you have, that you maybe were underutilizing in your current role, that now going into your new role, you might actually be able to leverage into becoming very successful. So again, what skills do you have now that you could port into this new thing? Experience means you are not starting from the bottom. Definitely not. Now, if you join a new organization from a seniority perspective, you might be at the bottom of the pecking order. That may be the case in terms of maybe getting vacation leave or what have you. You may be at the bottom of the order for whatever reason, right? Like when I was a nurse, for example, and I went from one hospital to another, I would lose seniority. I would have to start at the bottom from that perspective, but I wasn't starting over from an experience perspective. And then you want to ask yourself why you want this change. And that's really important because when you say, I don't want to start over, sometimes 2 steps back is important for you to leap forward. Now, the saying is, you have to take 2 steps back to make it, take a step forward. I'm not a fan of that particular saying. For me, you can take 2 steps back to pause and prep for the leap that you're going to take forward. And I think that is really important. If you understand the reason, I want to become a yoga instructor because I'm tired of working 18-hour days as a lawyer. I don't want to make partner in this firm because it's not a stable life for me. I don't enjoy this kind of thing. Some people really, thrive on that kind of stress. I don't. Maybe you're like, I want to help people chill and learn how to be flexible and become healthy and really adopt a healthy lifestyle. That's what's going to make me happy. That's what's going to fulfill me. Well, then you have to ask yourself the question then, is that experience of going to that yoga instructor piece, even if you're starting in a slightly different way, maybe it's a new thing for you, maybe that's going to be more worthwhile for you because it's going to make you feel better inside, right? So ask yourself that reason. Now, the second fear I want to take on with you guys is, what if I fail? What if you don't? I'm just going to hold that for a minute. What if you don't? What if in fact you succeed? Oh, wait a minute. Is that a problem for you too? Are you afraid to succeed? Is that possible? So what if failure is not possible? What would you take on if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do? What job would you do? What role would you take on? What career path would you go on if you knew you couldn't fail? So I ask that because failure is definitely possible. But here's the thing. You also have to reframe what failure means. Failure is not failure. Failure is learning. Right? And when we go to school, see, we're not raised to understand what failure is all about. Entrepreneurs get this. Entrepreneurs get what failing is. Failing is just an opportunity for retooling and relearning and reframing and moving on to something different. It's all about pivot. It's about, oh, well, we went bankrupt. I guess we're going to have to create a new business somewhere else doing another idea that I have, right? Entrepreneurs get this. The general public doesn't understand failure because when we go to school from the age of 5 all the way to the end of high school, when we say you failed your grade, it's embarrassing. It's a form of shame that you failed. Failure is just not acceptable. So that's how we define failure as we grow up. So how do you redefine failure, and how do you refocus that into the framing of, okay, I'm not gonna fail necessarily. Sure, the item I'm doing, the object I've created might fail. Maybe the marketing strategy will fail. Maybe the course itself won't hit the mark, but that's okay because that is all part of the learning. Because if you take a course you've created, let's say you've put it out in the world and nobody buys it. Well, was it the marketing strategy that failed? Was it that you didn't create content that people were interested in? What was the reason for the failure? Do the analysis, get the data, and then figure out how to retool so that you can make that thing a success going forward. So failure is all about learning so that you can become successful. The reason why a lot of people are not entrepreneurs is because they fail and they go, I'm not cut out for this. And they just they give up. The reality is that you're going to fail. It's okay. Accept it. And then look at how you're going to learn from that to become a better entrepreneur or person, right? If failure is your biggest concern right now, I want you to do this. Take a moment, like right now, and write down or think about what is the worst case scenario. Think about that for a second. What is the worst thing that can happen if the shift you want to make fails? Doesn't go as you planned. What's the worst that can happen? So I'll give you an example. For me, the worst that can happen, leaving my very secure government job, is that I don't make enough money next year to pay the bills. That's the worst that can happen. And then what happens after that? Well, if I'm not making a certain amount of money 6 months into next year, we're going to go into debt. That's the worst that can happen. Then what? Well, I get myself a job at Starbucks to help pay the bills. Okay, that's not exactly the best use of my skills, but that's my alternative. It sucks, but if that's what I have to do to pay the bills, I'll do that. It's still better that I try to make this business work than to be doing what I'm doing now and be unhappy. So really look at the worst case scenario. And I honestly think you need to look at that worst case scenario and then figure out what's the plan to deal with that. And if you cannot tolerate that, then maybe the change is too much for you. But if you think you can come up with a good, rational way around to survive whatever it is that could come, that's the worst case scenario. Because you know what? Chances are, if you're really into this change and you're really invested and you're doing everything you need to learn and to improve and to grow, you're likely not going to fail. Like, let's just be realistic. And if you have a coach to help you, you most definitely won't fail because you're going to have somebody who's going to push you to do what makes the most sense, what the next logical step is in order for you to be successful. The third one is, what if I make less money or I have to ramp up, right, to something new? So this one had me concerned when I first thought about leaving the government job because, again, it's a stable income. I get a paycheck every 2 weeks where I'm working currently. And I'm going to be going to a much less stable environment of needing to market and sell and, engage with clients and make money in a very entrepreneurial way, which means that every month is going to be different, right? Every year is going to be different until I've established some sort of really solid, coaching practice, which I'm fully transparent. I'm still at the beginning of my coaching practice. I've been a leader and in a leadership, I've been essentially a leadership consultant for like the better part of a decade now in my organization now. So to me, being a leadership consultant is like not even a stretch. I'm at the beginning of my coaching career. However, I'm a damn good coach. And the reality is I know that at some point I'm going to be making more money than I'm making now. But initially, that's not going to be the case. And that's okay. Because here's the reality. I assessed my finances. I had a conversation with the husband. We sat down, we ran the numbers. And I said, you know what, hon, here's the thing. Here's our fixed expenses. Here are the variables like our power or heat, light, water, all of that. Kids' expenses, that kind of thing. And we did the math. And I said, okay, here's your salary. Here's the expenditures. And if we just kind of like survive on the bare minimum, here's what I really need to make next year. And it's very little. Like you would be surprised at how little you really need to survive while you're building a business, for example, if that's what you're doing. Now, going to a job that makes 50, 60, 100,000 less than what you're making now may not be a feasible option for you when you have a mortgage to pay. But what if the job that you want to take on will make you feel super fulfilled inside? Really make you feel like you're living your best life, or that you're really honoring what it is you're here to do, but pays you $20,000 a year less? What if you could make that money doing something else? What if you could do passive income? What if you taught a course? What if you did something else that was more fulfilling, that could, fill that gap and maybe even more than that gap? You need to look at how you're going to increase your funds. You don't get rich saving money, although people tell you should save. Of course you should save. Of course you should save. You should be doing that. It's part of your financial plan, but it's not how you get rich. That's not how you become like financially successful. You need to find ways of creating more income for yourself, right? So obviously making less is not interesting. I get that. But maybe it's a temporary thing. Maybe it's only for a year or two while you build your practice, while you build your client base, while you build your confidence, whatever it is. And then figure out, how can I survive on that while I'm building? And then what little do I really need? Money isn't everything, folks. Like, I've been an emergency room nurse, and I cannot tell you, rich people, poor people, we all die the same way. We all suffer the same way. And you know what? At the end of our days, whether you're really rich or really poor, we all have very similar regrets. I should have spent more time with my family. I focused on the wrong things. I didn't enjoy life. I took myself too seriously. We all have the same regrets. So ultimately, whether you're rich or poor, we all die the same way, right? So what's the goal of the change? Is the focus happiness? And if that's the focus, then look at your finances and find a damn way to make it work. The next fear is, what will others think? Oh, the fear of disappointing other people. What will the neighbors think? Who gives a shit? Did I say that right? Sorry, was that offensive? Who cares what other people think? The only people who really matter, honestly, are your immediate surroundings, right? Like, my choice to do this in my life, it was important for me to have a conversation with my partner. I mean, my husband and I had to have this conversation because my decisions affect the whole family, right? So clearly, if I'm a responsible adult, I'm having the conversation with the people that matter about what I want to do and how I desire to do it. However, it's super, super important that you honor your inner voice and that you don't let others distract you from what it is you want. Because ultimately, a happy partner, like happy wife, happy life, a happy partner, a happy mother, a happy sister, brother, father, uncle, is a person that you want to be around. So what kind of person do you want to be? Right? You want to be happy, or do you want to be miserable? I'm like, well, I'm in a stable job, but I'm really miserable and I'm going to die of a heart attack at 50 because I freaking hate this job. It stresses the shit out of me. Well, if that's the case, then what's the point? Right? So if you really are serious about wanting to make a change, you're going to have to get real with the fact that what other people think about this is kind of inconsequential, because ultimately you need to believe in yourself that you can do it. And this is a struggle I've been struggling with, and I have struggled with my entire life. I've been a people pleaser, wanting to make other people happy. And unfortunately, I've done it at the detriment of my own success and my own happiness. You should not be doing things in life because you think other people want you to do it. Because what happens is you fall into things. We do this when we're younger. I fell into the nursing career. It ended up being a fantastic career, and I'm very grateful for it. But I fell into that career. I fell into it because I got into med school, couldn't afford to go, couldn't get the help I needed to go. I rebelled. I partied in college rather, and I pretty much failed everything but French and phys ed. And I was lucky that I fell into this. And the only reason I got that job was because my parents put pressure on me to figure out my life. I really wanted to be a public speaker, an actress. I wanted to be a teacher, those kinds of things. And I didn't get to do any of that. So as I got older and I realized, I really still want to help people, which is probably why I was pulled to medicine to begin with. I really want to help people. So let's see. I want to help people. I like to teach. I could coach and consult. It'll fill both of those needs. I like to public speak. I'm on YouTube. I like to be in front of an audience. Oh, webinars and courses and classes and hello. Like, this is the fulfillment of my inner self, of me. And if I really listen to me, this is what I want. So what I'm challenging you today to do is to listen to yourself. What does your inner self want, right? Forget what all the noise around you says you should be doing. Well, you went to school to be a doctor, dear, and you spent all that money on being a doctor, and you're telling me now you don't want to be a doctor anymore? Come on. At the end of the day, it is up to you what you want to do, right? If you want to leave the law firm, yeah, you're going to have people thinking you're goddamn nuts. You're bloody crazy. But the reality is that there are going to be people who think that. I just don't care. Because this is something that I feel, and what message am I sending my children? The message I'm sending to my children is, if you really believe in yourself and you really want to do something that means something to you, you have to go for it. And if you do a good job and you work really hard and you give it your best, guess what? You're going to succeed and the money will come because clients are going to find you. They're going to want to work with you. So you do what you want to do, so that you feel more happy, you feel more satisfied. Because at the end of the day, like I was saying 2 minutes ago, we all die the same way. We all have very similar regrets. And you don't want to be on your dying bed or in a nursing home thinking, oh man, I wish I would have done that thing I really wanted to do. I wish I had written that song. I wish I had gone on stage. I wish I had taken advantage of that opportunity when I was given it. Don't play your life with regrets, right? I mean, obviously you have to be careful in how you make your decisions. You have to make sure it's for the right reasons, your inner ones, and not reactionary. You're not doing it out of spite. But at the end of the day, you don't want to feel tired and frustrated and burnt out. You want to feel successful and happy and fulfilled. And so that's really important. So who cares what other people think about you? Because when you're thinking about other people's thoughts, you're not thinking of yourself. You're not putting that focus on you. So knock that shit off, as they say. So this leads into the fear of wasting your current position, experience, and education. I kind of addressed this a little bit in my previous comments, but I have to say that after 28 years as a nurse, I'm making a leap to be a coach and consultant. To me, it's a good fit. It fits into it checks the boxes on all the things that I really kind of wanted to do when I was younger. I'm not starting from over. I'm starting from experience because of all of the years of experience I have. My career allowed me to get a grad degree. Right? It allowed me to have the stable job I needed and the stable income to be able to pay for post-secondary education. I got my bachelor's degree in nursing because I was a diploma nurse. I was able to get a master's degree in organizational leadership. My career enabled me to do that. Now it's time for me to shift to something new. So for you, do the same assessment. All the certification, all the experience, all the education, what part of that can you parlay into something else? What part of that is transferable? Figure that out, because there's got to be skills, talents, everything that you can transfer to your new role. What if the change is too much to handle? That's another one that I think when I was doing some research on this topic, that was another one that really worried people is, what if I can't handle all this change? And honestly, at 4:00 in the morning when my anxiety hits, this is one that my overwhelm starts to take over and my brain starts to go 100 miles an hour about how I'm going to manage the months where they're lean and I don't have money coming in. It can be quite overwhelming during these transitional stages. So anytime you go from here to here, Peter Senge talks about it in his book, and I've got the link down below for his books, but Peter Senge talks about this as the creative tension, period of creative tension, where we're stressed out because here's where we are, here's where we want to be. And there's like, we feel there's a gap between these two areas, and it can really be overwhelming and quite scary. And you have to be able to kind of unblock yourself, unfreeze yourself, so you're willing to kind of cross that chasm of uncertainty to get to the goal or get to the next stage of your life. So those transitional phases can be really, really difficult on us. Don't try to learn and then do it and learn, right? So do the thing that you want to do and course correct and pivot along the way. Because if you try to learn everything and just try to like, you know what, just to be perfect. So before I make the big change, I have to know everything. I have to know everything about my business. I need to know everything about how I'm going to do this website. I need to know everything about marketing. I need to know I'm guilty of this. I've been doing this for the past 2 years, right? So you need to stop that and just start doing and learning as you go along. So create an action plan, take some action steps, learn along the way, know that things aren't going to go the way they're supposed to, and that you're going to have to make some adjustments along the way. And that's okay. And the more you do that, the more comfortable you get. And what will happen is you're going to start to make that big gap start to narrow slowly over time. So as you take action, you're going to move close, and you'll gain more and more confidence as you do that, as you move closer and closer to that next stage. And then when you get to the next job, you're going to establish a new routine. Or when you move on to, you finally leave your old job, you become an entrepreneur like I'm going to be doing in January, you're going to be like, okay, so all right, I'm here. I'm on my own now. It's time to roll, right? So you get into a new routine, you start making money again, you start living your life again in a little bit more of a stable manner. And even as an entrepreneur, you can find a rhythm, a routine that sort of starts to work for you. And then you can kind of adjust to this new normal. And then you're not so afraid of this change anymore. And the other thing is find a cheerleader. I'm lucky to be married to one. I've said this in previous videos, but find a cheerleader, someone who supports you, a friend, a coach, a partner, someone who will help you succeed and not try to keep you from your goals. So people do it from a place of love. They mean well, but they don't want you to fail or to have any big mistakes that cause you to lose money or whatever. So people may try to talk you out of your goals, and they may succeed in doing that, and then you'll regret it. So just make sure you choose a cheerleader who understands how important this change is for you, and then really have them push you to the next level. Am I too old? Is it too late? No, never. Never. Ageism is a thing. I get it. People think that as you get older, you're less and less capable or less and less relevant. Again, I call bullshit on that. And here's why I call that. So here's an example of a 70-plus-year-old lady who has a YouTube channel with over 800,000 subscribers. This woman, Shirley Curry on YouTube, right, has amassed over 800 subscribers. And she does this through posts of her playing video games, specifically playing the video game Skyrim. She calls herself Granny. She calls her followers her grandkids. And so her channel, which I have her link down below, is amazing. This is a 75-year-old lady who is rocking it on YouTube, making good money. She has merchandise, right? I mean, you want proof of it's never too old? Check out Shirley Curry, all right? Because grandma's got it going on. And if she can do it, God damn it, you can do it. And if you're 45 years old and you're going, I'm middle life, it's too late for me, I can't do this. You are so up the creek full of poop, honestly. Because if anything, you have it much easier than a 20-something-year-old because you have all this experience. You have, you should be more capable, more prepared to deal with these things. You've dealt with failure. You've dealt with criticism. You've dealt with life experience. Stuff has been thrown at you and you've been resilient and come over things. You've had your heart broken. You've lost jobs. You've been fired. You've been demoted. You've had negative reviews. You've gone through it all. And yet you're sitting there going, I'm 45. I'm too old for this shit. No, you're not too old for it. You can make the change. And honestly, if you're 45, time is going by anyway. You're going to be 65 years old and you're going to be miserable going, I should have made the change 20 years ago. Yeah, you should have made the change 20 years ago. So the fact that you have experience and expertise and life lessons that can help you grow, and I would even say a faster manner than a 20-year-old, 20-year-olds are fast thinkers. They're super bright and they have energy, for decades, right? It feels like 20-year-olds just never stop, right? I remember being 20. I got ready to go out at 11 o'clock at night. Now I'm ready to go to bed at 11 o'clock at night. Like there's no goddamn way I'm putting makeup on and going out to a bar at 11 o'clock at night now. It's not happening, right? But the difference is that 20-year-olds are very impulsive often and don't have the life experience to back them up. Not yet. They're getting there, but they're not there yet. So if you're 40, 45, and 50, you got all this experience behind your back. I don't want to hear I'm too old as an excuse. And finally, the big thing that people always talk about is imposter syndrome. And I have an entire course I'm developing on that will be coming out sometime this fall. Life is getting in the way a little bit lately, but once I get this course out, I will definitely launch it, and I will include links down below once I have it out. But here's the thing. I heard a phrase one time. It said, if you don't want to be a fake, don't be one. Here's the reality. Imposter syndrome will hit pretty much anybody, especially high-functioning A-types. The perfectionists out there, you know who you are, right? The ones that want things done exactly the way they want it done. They like to do everything themselves. Everything's got to be perfect. The timing's got to be perfect. They don't want to disappoint people. They got to say and do the right things. They got to edit things just perfectly. These feelings of insecurities of trying new things are normal. They're normal. They're expected. The problem is that when we don't think we're good enough to do something, it can impede our confidence and our ability to move forward, right? So really assess your skills here. You need to look at what you bring to the table. You might be a new yoga instructor in that yoga example I was giving before, but if you know how to do yoga, you can teach it. And all you need to do is do it a few times and hear from people, hey, that was a great class, just a couple of times to know that you're doing a good job. But you're never going to hear that if you let your imposter syndrome tell you that you're not limber enough, you're not thin enough, you're not experienced enough, you don't have the right outfit, your gym is too far, it's too small, it's too tight, it's too hot, it's too whatever. At the end of the day, your tribe will find you because they always do, and they will support you. So what do you bring to the table in terms of skills, in terms of strengths, and leverage those strengths and those skills to move yourself forward. Super important. This notion of not being good enough, there's a whole rack of reasons and a whole bunch of activities that you can do to help yourself out with that. Again, I'm not going to spend any more time in this video going through this. I have a video on imposter syndrome I'm going to put up here. And again, you can always go to my website because I'll keep something updated there in terms of my page for the course that I'm going to be developing and putting out there. But the reality is you're not a fake when you're trying something new or you're doing something new or you're stretching yourself or maybe you're taking on a new career, but it's exactly what you're doing, just a little level higher or a level up. There's really nothing for you to stress about. Just take it on, learn. Again, find the cheerleader, assess your skills, leverage your strengths, and really look for opportunities to build your confidence because that's really all it is. It's a lack of confidence. So once you start developing that confidence, then imposter syndrome will just go away. Don't kid yourself. Imposter syndrome never goes away fully. It's always there in the background. But the reality is, you know what? You could manage it. You can manage it. And there are people out there who know how to help you manage it. At the end of the day, just keep an eye out for the course that I'm going to be developing on mastering your imposter, which is going to come out later this fall. And if I have the PDF action plan ready for this video, I will have it linked down below. And if you really like this content, I talk about leadership and coaching concepts on this channel. Feel free to subscribe because I'm here every week. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye.